Great day, another day, another opportunity. I want to welcome everyone to a Rich Education Podcast, episode 2. Today we have a special guest, and just more than special, dear brother to me, not just an entrepreneur, not just a super successful person who's leading thousands into that promised land of freedom, that real American dream, but a gentleman that I've been acquainted with for several years, and I've watched his elevation of success and also personally knowing a lot of people that he's helped get to the promised land. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to belay the minute, but I want to introduce to the platform this evening my great friend and actually a mentor of mine as well. His name is Ricardo Hamilton, and better known as MIMS, which just means make it make sense. With that being said, my great brother, my great friend, my mentor, Mr. Ricardo Hamilton. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing awesome, brother Demi. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Happy to be on this show. Happy to be here.
Absolutely, brother. And I'm happy here. I know your time is important, so we're not going to be long, but we want to bring people the information that's so important, and the time it must be done. But with that being said, I think it's always good that a person knows a little bit about the individual that's coming onto a platform to share information, especially information that we're going to be bringing to the world this afternoon, this morning, this evening, because it's going to be aired all over the world. I don't know where an individual may be catching this from, Brother Mims, but I want just people to know about you. And I mean, I could talk all day about you because I've watched you elevate. I've watched you get to the top. I've watched you put excuses to the side, and you've kept your foot on the pedal since then, brother. So please introduce yourself to the world and let them know who you are.
Yeah, definitely, man. Local here in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia. Been here pretty much all my life. Father of 3, just very passionate individual about, finances and economy, and money. And, like 2008 came around and a lot of people got hurt. And for me, that was a wake-up call to find out what was going on with the monetary system. Why was the average person on Main Street suffering, losing their house, losing their job, losing half of their 401k and their financial stability now, up in the air. And that came across the information about the Federal Reserve and the US dollar. And I came across information about why you need to save in gold and silver and how the monetary system for the global economy got set up. And in that journey of self-education and learning, I started to continue to, not only learn, but actually accumulate assets. And then I had to spread that message because I realized, my parents, my people, my friends, people around me, they didn't know. They didn't understand the monetary system. They didn't understand inflation. They didn't understand, compound interest versus simple interest. They didn't understand residual income versus passive or earned income. There's a lot we weren't taught in school. And so as I became aware of this information and actually put this information into practice, I had a passion to share with others. And throughout the years, that's what I've been doing. And we've been helping thousands of people understand what's going on in the global economy, why you need to be concerned, what you should be doing, and how you can get it done.
Absolutely, brother Ricardo. What a great explanation, and the time and what must be done. Day one, I mean, it's been years now. Time has moved so fast. But when I met you and we had that conversation, I said, brother, you have to share this to the world. And you were already preparing for that. But once again, you put the foot to the metal, and you've been bringing that information and helping so many people. I mean, there's been times when you and I have stood up in conference rooms, and I just, you being live streamed, you and brother Frank, and you just spitting fire, brother. Why is it important in the times that we're living in? When I thought about the title for the day to have such a special guest, because it's rare, and you are a rare person. I mean, you're not part of the dead fish. With all due respect, we're not speaking about, but we have a little bit of time to get things together in this world. The time and what must be done. How do you look at that title? And what is the time that we're living in, and what must be done?
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously in a crisis in a lot of different ways. We're being attacked in every area of human activity, whether it's the entertainment industry, education system, your environment, healthcare. But I mean, the main one that, we focus on because it affects everybody, no matter what race, color, creed you are, is the financial system. And it's so important that people understand that the time that we're in right now is a time of what we call the Great Reset. It's a time where the world is changing forever. One of the most significant time periods in history that you will ever see or read about is happening right now. And if you do the right things in this crisis, there's a massive opportunity for you to create generational wealth beyond what you could have ever imagined. But if you don't do the right things right now, you will get wiped out financially, and it will be virtually impossible for you or your loved ones to ever recover because of the shift of this reset. So it's important that, in this time, that you accumulate the right assets, that you take the dollar while it has value, and acquire certain assets and start to create multiple streams of income, because literally your life and future depends on it. That's how critical the time is that we're in right now. And it's something that people need to take very seriously. And those who have eyes to see and ears to listen, they are. And those who aren't, well, woe unto them.
Yes, sir. And you've been bringing this information. We've been sounding the alarm for years, because when you and I met, we were actually at a conference that dealt with physical gold and physical silver. You before me, because I started acquiring gold back then, starting in 2015, but you had already been doing this, brother. And when people hear this information, can just give me your thought process, Brother Ricardo, on why when they hear information like this, because we're not bringing fear. I did a TikTok last night. I had about 5,000 views on that TikTok. It was the most ever. Just a student of yours, brother, because when you go live, you're bringing so much fire. But I had people saying that fear sells. And we're not selling fear when we share this information. And that's why I thought the title of A Time and What Must Be Done is important. But can you take us back in time? Make it make sense, Mims. And I see that title is so amazing for you, brother, that name. But can you take us back in time of why we are where we are today here in this country, and not just in America, but abroad?
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's, they never really wanted you to understand how the present monetary and banking system works. Because if the American people and the people of the world really understood how the present banking and monetary system works, there'll be a revolution by tomorrow morning. I mean, this system is literally slavery 2.0, but what you don't understand is inflation. What you never understood was fractional reserve banking. What you never understood was the global monetary policy and how central banks work, and how the United States government borrows money from a private banking cartel called the Federal Reserve, and how we have to pay that money back, but also pay it with interest. And in that process, that's what continues the decline in your lifestyle, because we have to work harder and harder for these pieces of paper that are worth less and less. And at the same time, our quality of lifestyle is going down. So the dollar was as good as gold at one time. It used to say the dollar's king. Well, that was when the dollar was backed by gold. And no longer is the dollar backed by gold. After 1971, the dollar has been what we call fiat currency. And when you do your research and you find out about fiat currencies, all fiat currencies go to zero. There has been no fiat currency that hasn't went to zero. And the US dollar is the longest standing fiat currency, but inevitable for it to go to zero. And that's why we're seeing right now the global economy moving away from the US dollar and buying gold, getting into central bank digital currencies that are going to be backed by gold and things of this nature. And so the dollar is no longer money. It used to be money because it was a receipt for gold and silver. It was a certificate, but now it's a liability. And it's important that people understand that. So you can take these liabilities while they have value and purchase assets, because there's going to come a point in time where you won't be able to either purchase the assets because nobody's selling them, or you will get priced out. And these events are happening faster and faster. And when you do the historical data to eliminate the people who want to say it's fear, we just show them the data. When you see the loss in purchasing power of the dollar, 98% of it has lost its purchasing power. The dollar's lost 98% of its purchasing power since its inception in 1913. When you look at the inflation of what the prices for goods and services were from 1950, 1960, 1970, you see this constant rise in the price of goods and services and the loss in value of the dollar. When you look at the percentage gains for gold and silver over the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, then you start to realize that this is a safe store of value, that this is an asset, and this is how you hedge against financial crisis and inflation and build real wealth.
Good information, and I guess this is foreign to many, because at times I say I just don't see why people don't get it, but then I have to sit back and understand that we all went to the public food system. So anyone listening to this, not calling you a fool, but it's a system that has been designed to keep you, like you stated, brother Ricardo, a slave. So what am I a slave to? Or individual, and I would like you to speak on this, an individual may be a high-paid employee, but without the financial literacy, maybe 20 to 30% of that is going back to the IRS, and we're living in this liability type lifestyle where we have a mortgage, we have a car, no, nothing wrong with those things, but we're working to pay off debt instead of learning how to preserve and maybe make that cash flow work for us. What's your concept on where even the high paid person, how they should be looking at things today? And we know that what goes up must comes down, right? Lately, within the last few days, it looks like we've been in somewhat of a bull market, right now in the financial space. But Ricardo, let's speak to the person and let's make it make sense to that person who is that high paid employee. This person making maybe $1 million a year. So they're in a good position, but with the way the economy is now, with this everything bubble that we're being presented with now, how should their mindset shift fast? Because overnight things can change.
Yeah, I mean, just look back to 2008. People who felt that, the U.S. economy was, AAA rated and the housing market was great, and, a recession or crisis would never come to that magnitude. Well, it did. And people lost half their 401k, people lost their homes, people lost their jobs. You don't have to look too far back. There's always a crisis in the economy every 10 years or so. And right now, we're just in one of the longest expansion periods, but we're overdue. And the thing is that, you don't want to value your wealth in dollars, okay? Because when you come to the understanding that the dollar is not a unit of wealth, the dollar does not preserve its value, why would you measure your wealth in it, right? All you have is a lot of pieces of paper, a lot of units of debt. It's legal tender. It's not money. And those pieces of paper are a liability to you. You might have a lot of them. You might get them on a consistent basis, but you don't want to value your wealth in dollars. You want to value your wealth in assets. You want to value your wealth in how many ounces of silver and gold, or the number of certain cryptocurrency assets you have, or, things of that nature. But you don't want to value, hold, and store what you believe your wealth to be is in dollars, because the dollar is not a savings instrument. It doesn't save value. It doesn't hold value. And so at that point, you have to just become sort of an alchemist. You want to convert paper into metal, right? You want to convert paper into something that is going to last, that is going to hold value. And, this is why we talk about gold and silver a lot, because since the times of Egypt, gold and silver have been money. All over the world, in Africa, Europe, Asia, the Americas, gold and silver is money. Even in the Bible, from Genesis to Revelations, it's God's money, gold and silver. Here in the United States, Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution, gold is a legal tender, right? Also, there's about 12 states in the United States where gold and silver is legal tender, where you can spend gold and silver the same way you spend dollars. So you just want to diversify, you want to hedge. And, so in regards to your savings, you don't want to save dollars. You want to save in gold and silver and keep your emergency fund in cash, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to once again welcome everyone to A Rich Education. Special guest, as you can already hear, Fireball, take this information serious, Ricardo Hamilton, MEMS, Make It Make Sense, Crypto Rick. This is the gentleman of our time. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, I like to say the future is now. And this is the information we need to hear. So, Brother Ricardo, moving forward, we've talked about the importance of, and as we know, there are 3 different types of money. And I really don't like to call cash money, but we that's what the majority, with all due respect, are used to saying. So it's government's money because they control it. As we know, you mentioned to it, it's a note, it's a federal note, it's debt, but they control it. And I remember making a statement on Instagram of a person, and I said the government creates inflation. And someone said, no, they don't. I say, well, we can take it to the next level. Central bankers, the individuals, the Rothschilds, those who control the money, okay, they create inflation. But as we look at the 3 different types of money, federal note, God's money, as you talked about, Brother Ricardo, physical gold, physical silver, has always been money since man walked earth. But now, stepping into a space that you're heavy on, stepping into a space that started in 2009 or maybe before, please correct me, but a space that you've been running heavy with as well, Crypto Rick. Let's talk about the conception, because we still have people to this day. I may pull out a silver coin to show people, because I don't go anywhere without God's money on me, because I'm always wanting to have a conversation, Brother Ricardo. And some people call that, is that Bitcoin? So we're so, with all due respect, ignorant. I'm ignorant to a lot. It just means lack of knowledge. We don't know. But let's talk about the importance of decentralization, the importance of understanding cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and other digital assets in the space that you're currently in, and with the program that you've been running with heavy as well.
Yeah, so I mean, this is, once again, because we're in this shift, it's also a technological shift. And so in this reset, we're seeing a marrying or a merge of what was the old money, which still has value today and will have value as long as man walks the planet, right? Is gold and silver. And then you have the technological side, which is blockchain and cryptocurrency. And so, this is why we say that you have to diversify, because your investments, you will want those to be in cryptocurrency. Your savings, you want that to be in gold and silver. And your emergency fund, you want that to be obviously in cash, so you can put your hands on some cash. But cryptocurrency, blockchain isn't going anywhere. It's just as big as the internet. It's like Internet 2.0. And if you missed out on the .com, if you missed out on being able to get in Google in the early 2000s, Apple, Microsoft, IBM, right now, these type of opportunities are happening on the blockchain, and Bitcoin being, of course, the first, but others coming out of blockchain technology with companies that are providing real solutions and changing the world and adding value. And those who find and participate in those companies early on, it's just another avenue. It's another way to create wealth during this wealth transfer. Because even during 2008 financial crisis, money didn't disappear. It just changed hands. When the market crashed 50, 60, 80%, the money just doesn't disappear. Somebody came up on the other side of that. Somebody got wealthy on the other side of that. Well, in the blockchain space right now, and in gold and silver, those who are holding the right assets are going to hold that wealth. They're going to be benefiting from that wealth transfer. But those who just hold on to cash, they're just holding on to a liability. And, they're going to wish that they had done something different. The banks, inflation is inherent in this debt-based fiat monetary system. It will never go away. They will never be able to, balance the budget, reduce the deficit. Every time that money is created, debt is created. Okay. And not only that, but now the debt is created, but then there's interest, money that never existed. To pay the interest. So now we have to borrow more debt to pay the interest. And so it's a never ending cycle. It's a never ending cycle. And that's why we have over $30 trillion in debt right now. That's why we have about $192 trillion in unfunded liabilities, Social Security and Medicare. And it just gets worse. So it's important that people, do something different, hedge, give yourself a fighting chance financially by having some real money.
And good information, Brother Ricardo. And the thing is, it's going to take financial literacy. And what I've been doing my best is to really bring it down so an eighth grader can understand that financial literacy really is just a few words: assets, liabilities, cash flow, and taxes. So if a person can just keep it simple with those 4 words, adding assets, getting rid of the liabilities, and maybe, if you're willing to step outside the comfort zone, create some more cash flow for yourself and your family. I've heard you use the word a few times. And can you bring it down for the people so they can really understand what a wealth transfer is? And you've talked about how to prepare for it, but just explain that, because I want people to understand. I've been mentioning it. They hear the word wealth transfer, 2 words, wealth transfer, but the seriousness, that's why I had to title this, The Time and What Must Be Done. We're in this position. You talked about that these resets or crashes happen every so often, every 10 years. We've had the .com, we had the real estate, we even had a banking crash in 2016. But now we're at a point with so much debt in our country. please just briefly speak on the importance of understanding this wealth transfer.
Yeah. Once again, money doesn't disappear. Value doesn't disappear, but it just changes hands, or it changes assets, changes, different commodities. And so because we're seeing a massive decline in the dollar's role globally, because we're seeing a massive shift in the G7 countries and declining in value for their GDP, and we see a rise in BRICS, these, emerging markets, emerging economies, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, we're seeing a shift. And that means there's the movement of money, that flow, that energy is shifting. And if you are in the right spaces, in the right assets, just holding and having those assets, they're going to rise in value tremendously. That is the wealth transfer. We're moving away from debt to assets. We're moving away from liabilities to assets. And so if you have these assets while they're cheap, silver still 50% off of its all-time high, gold hovering near its all-time high, but still these assets are massively reduced in value because of the manipulation by the big banks. So there's still a massive opportunity to be able to buy silver, okay, and hold it. And of course, you have cryptocurrency and things of this nature. So when you're holding the right assets, that's how you participate in the wealth transfer. Either you're holding the right assets, you're a part of the company that's bringing that change in appreciation. That's how you do it. But if you're just doing the same thing you've been doing, you're going to get the same results you've been had. And your quality of lifestyle is going to decline because of it.
Tremendously, brother. And I do remember you just a few days ago sharing via social media the state of Social Security. I know a while back we've had the largest pension fund, which is in sunny California, called CalPERS. They've been a $1 trillion underwater. So a lot of people are dependent upon what the government has promised them. But right now these things aren't looking too good. And as I'm hearing you talk, and as we've all been studying, the number one thing is to invest in ourselves so we can, but we don't have a lot of time, for a person to sit here and study Forex, or maybe if you're connecting to the right community, you want to learn how to invest, because it seems like as you share this knowledge, the passive investor is going to be the one who's hurt, where the professional investor, if they want to step in that space, because I don't look at holding on to gold and silver as investing. You use the keyword hedge. We see what just happened not too far back in Venezuela. We've had Zimbabwe. We've had the Weimar Republic. But just recently, a lot of countries around the world, we see cash is really being burnt up. So it's so important, ladies and gentlemen, that we take this information serious. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a short infomercial break. And I want everyone to stand by for about 30 seconds as we return with our special guest, Mims, Make It Make Sense. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome everyone back to A Rich Education, episode 2, with our special guest, Ricardo Hamilton, Crypto Rick, Mims, Make It Make Sense. What a great conversation we're having. And moving forward, Brother Ricardo, I like for people, because I know individuals are super excited to hear the knowledge that you're bringing. And I just have a question. I want us to be super transparent on this podcast this evening. And I want you to just speak from the heart on this subject and this question. Do you see the school system, the traditional school system, being a waste of time, or an obsolete thing for parents to be pushing their children to, or for adults to look at the college education, maybe thinking that they can get a better career in this current economy?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it does appear a little to be outdated unless you're going for specialized knowledge. If you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. But what people have to understand is that because of AI, because of robotics, because of automation, your job is obsolete. You see that the education system was set up during for the industrial era. They needed you to work in the factories. They needed human labor. Humans were involved in a lot of the day-to-day activities to actually get stuff done in the economy. But today, because of AI, I mean, AI is, people are, see what's happened with Chat GPT and now all these other AI softwares that are coming out. A lot of people's jobs are obsolete. You don't need, these people anymore to actually do the physical job. Robotics in the factories now, they have robots that are in the factories. They don't need you in the factory no more. They have self-driving vehicles right now with Google and Tesla and all that. And so even drones doing drop shipping and things of this nature. So human labor, is less needed in this new economy that we're emerging into. And so college is great, but depends on, what you're going to college for. And most people who are really successful, they end up dropping out and starting their own companies. A lot of people who graduated from college, they're not even in a job that they went to college, that they got a degree for. They're doing something totally different. Depending on what college degree you're going after or what career field you're going after, you need to understand the competition internationally, the Chinese students, the Indian students, the Asian market. And you need to understand where robotics and AI is and the need for that job in the future. Where is the economy going? How lasting is that model for that job position? So it's important that you have skills. And brother, you talked about trading, and you talked about passive streams of income and multiple streams of income. That's important. That's important. But today, is it important to get 30, 40, 50, maybe even more tens of thousands of dollars in debt to get a degree in a field that is probably going to be obsolete in the next decade because of where AI and robotics is going? Probably not the best thing to do. You're probably better off, actually starting something of your own, getting into these emerging markets, participating in blockchain and crypto and asset accumulation. But I think everything today, now we have it. Information is at your fingertips. Everything is in a book. Everything is online. And now with the AI Chat GPT models, whatever it is you want to know, if you want to, know how to create a course, you want to know how to write a book, you want to know how to, outline for a song. I mean, anything. The AI models gives you everything you need to be able to be a creator. So it's the economy is changing where it's not about being a consumer, but it's about being a producer. So you go to a job to learn how to work, to become a worker, and to be a part of the system. But you'll be better off becoming a producer, becoming a thinker, becoming a doer, and creating or investing in those creations that are changing the future and benefiting from the wealth transfer. So college is great for some, and not so great for others. And unless they evolve the college system, it's probably going to continue that way to be less great for many and only great for those who want maybe specialized knowledge, like to be a doctor or a lawyer or something to that degree, in my opinion.
Okay, excellent, brother. Excellent, man. That's great information, brother Ricardo. Because many people are looking at things, fears keeping a lot of people back. Complacency is keeping a lot of people back, and just being comfortable. And the two uncomfortables that we're going to have to deal with. It's the uncomfortability of change, or it's the uncomfortability of getting wiped out. We just got to keep it real. And I think that every piece of information that you brought us this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever a person's seeing this from, has been key to moving forward in today's present economy and the time and what must be done. Because we see some of the alarmists and some of the educators and great people, anyone who's watching this information, this is not financial advice. We're giving education. It's all on the person to make their own financial decisions. We got to take full control of our lives. We've been putting our trust in the country we see that has not given us the knowledge to know about building wealth. A country that's been debasing currency since they've figured out how to start printing money. And I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Ricardo, China was the first individuals to start printing cash, to my knowledge. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But now America has turned on the helicopter money, and we've been doing it since the dollar coming off the gold standard, and they've turned up the printing presses, and this is what's causing a lot of problems. I'm not sure if you're seeing it, Brother Ricardo, but as Peter Schiff states that we're going into the Greater Depression. Please expound on what he means by that, because I wasn't born in the Great Depression. My grandmother was, and many people may have parents that were in the Great Depression, but now we're going into a Greater Depression. What's your outlook on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an inevitability because, the world is no longer demanding dollars. We have Saudi Arabia considering taking yuan. We have countries around the world wanting to eliminate trade between each other using the dollar. They want to use their own currencies, gold or cryptocurrency. And so the dollar is being less valuable. And so you're going to see massive inflation, and you'll see layoffs, and you'll see a crisis. And this is nothing new. They've been able to manipulate this managed economy because we don't have a free market economy. That everything is rigged and manipulated. And so what we have here is that history repeats itself. If people really just studied great collapses like Rome, you will see that the United States, this corporation, is on the same path. Rome debased their currency, that whole overextended wars. They kept their populace entertained with bread and circus. And a lot of the same things that happened then are happening right now. And so the Great Depression that we're in right now is going to be, something that the world has never seen before. Absolutely.
And it is I don't fear, I just fear God. But for the masses, when you look that, we would think that people would take this information that you're bringing to us today, Brother Ricardo, serious. But when you have a person, we're the only ones walking around that's take this knowledge and moved out on it, because information is power, but people use that vividly, but it's only power when you move out on it. So to be conscious and moving around in the time that we're living in today, and most don't have the assets that we're talking about. Most don't want to take time to, and I want to talk about that, understand cryptocurrency and understand, because we've had some major bank collapses on both sides, in the fiat system and also on the crypto system. Talk about, some of the entities of exchanges, Ricardo, that have disappeared and taken a lot of investors' capital.
And with any system, whether we're talking about traditional or blockchain or crypto side, you're always going to have bad actors. And so you're always going to have, failures from, mismanagement or corruption or fraud. And you're going to see that in traditional banking, which we're seeing it now. Another major U.S. bank just collapsed over the weekend. And then we also have the United States credit rating just getting cut by Finch from a AAA to a AA plus. So, the U.S. credit rating is going down. Banks are going down. And so you're always going to have these type of, situations. And the same thing with crypto, depending on what institution you're dealing with. You'll have situations where you have, corrupt.
Podcast episode 2 with our special guest, Brother Ricardo Hamilton. Brother Ricardo Hamilton, as we bring this to a close, and I can't thank you enough for your time. I just want, as we know, they say money isn't important, but it affects everything that is important in our life. You did brief on our health. You talked about people learning other skills as far as farming. But I just want to know your background briefly, and what is it in you to keep going like you've been going? I mean, you're financially free. I mean, you're living the dream, what people want. You're a full-time father. You're in your children's life every day. What is it? What has it been put in you to keep going and to be the champion and the leader that you've been for years? Okay, now nothing wrong with a job, nothing wrong with linear income. It's a blessing to be working, because a lot of people have been displaced because they lost their job. They didn't have the security put aside. They didn't have the 6 months or to a year of income put aside just in case there was a financial calamity. But what has it been for you to keep going as we bring this to an end so people can just know the drive and something? Maybe you can share with us some of the ups and downs and the failures that you experienced to maintain your freedom.
Yeah. You're the master of your destiny, and it all comes down to mindset. Everything that you said, that I've said, and that you'll hear, it's education, it's application of that education, and it's that determination. And I tell people all the time, what we're doing is we're constantly, continuously, and consistently building wealth in the precious metal assets and crypto. And in that journey, just even if you are just working a job, there's going to be ups and downs. There's challenges regardless. There's risks in everything that you do, but it's your mindset and how you're perceiving. What are you doing? What's going on? Your options. It's how you respond to these events that makes the difference, because everything is really working in your favor. Everything is really working in your favor to make you the person who you need to be, so God can use you to help others when they're going through their challenges, and they can see that somebody has came out on the other side. So you're meant to go through what you're meant to go through, but it's up to you to make the right decision in these times. It's up to you to step up to the plate and not make excuses, and actually decide that I'm going to actually go ahead and do what I need to do because I see what's going on, and I want to make sure that my future is greater than my yesterday. And that only happens if you decide to take action, if you have the right mindset, if you are doing the right things. But if you just, continue to do what you've been doing, you're going to get what you've been getting. And if you aren't adjusting and growing with the times, you're going to get wiped out with them. And so, at the end of the day, it really comes down to your mindset, building up your mental fortitude, embracing the challenges, embracing the setbacks and the failures, because it's a setup for a comeback. But it's up to you to see that and not allow it to hold you down, because the only thing constant in the universe is change. Change is always coming. So where you are today is not where you are tomorrow, but where you are tomorrow is based off what you do today. So, I tell people all the time, if you didn't come from a wealthy family, what's the opportunity to make sure a wealthy family comes from you?
Facts, Brother Ricardo. What a way to bring this episode to a close. Brother, I can't thank you enough. And I will, with your permission, in the description of this podcast, which I have my YouTube podcast channel, I will have your contact information so individuals can contact you to get more knowledge and see about a lot of the blueprints that you already have in place with creating success, not just for yourself and your family, but the success for thousands of people around the world. So once again, I want to thank you, Brother Ricardo. Anything you wanted to end with to the community as we bring this to an end?
No, man, thank you for having me, brother. This is a phenomenal show. I think, people are going to see a lot of value in this. And, once again, the only thing constant is change. And, what you do today is very important. And so we have an opportunity, like you said, great day, another day to, get it right. And this is the time. It's the time. So put yourself in position to make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
Thank you so much, Brother Ricardo, and we appreciate your time. You have a great day, and we'll be talking soon, sir. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank
you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an amazing morning, evening, afternoon. For me, it's been an amazing morning to have such a champion join us today, Brother Ricardo Hamilton. I mean, so much more I could be talking about. I've been watching his journey of success, and like I stated earlier, he has not let off the pedal. So I want to thank you, the great people who've tuned in and watched this podcast this evening, this morning, this afternoon once again. And I'm so humble because time is one of the most valuable assets that we have. So if you spent the few minutes that we've shared this information with us today, I'm grateful for you. So I want to thank you again. And until next time, we'll have another powerful guest coming with episode 3 here with A Rich Education. Take care, take heed, and stay safe.